Hi there, Michael here, and welcome to this preview of our patron-exclusive episode on The Batman. In this section, we talk about our initial reactions to the film and how we as audience were approaching this latest incarnation of the Batman character. If you want to hear the full episode where we dive further into why this is a fresh take on the character and world of Batman, then head over to the Beyond the Screenplay Patreon. The link is in the show notes. We'll be back on Friday with the winner of the Best Picture Academy Award, Coda. But for now, let's dive into The Batman. Hello, patrons, and welcome to our patron-exclusive episode on The Batman. I am, of course, Vengeance, and I'm joined by the Beyond the Screenplay team, Trisha Rand.
Hello, everyone.
Brian Bittner.
Hello, hello.
And Alex Calleros.
Hi.
So we're talking about The Batman, the 2022 film, directed by Matt Reeves, written by Matt Reeves and Peter Craig. This is a new film that's just come out, so the takes will be pretty hot. My first thought, actually, even just out of the gate, is that I wish I'd had time to see this a second time, because I feel like it's a movie that if I watched it knowing now what I know about it, like knowing what it is, I might be able to appreciate it a lot more versus trying to figure out what it was and how I felt about it as an idea. So that's kind of my opening statement on The Batman, is that I went to see it. Alex and I went to see it together. That was fun. And Trisha's giggling.
Yeah, I was going to say, wow, Alex, I didn't realize.
I get around, you guys.
Wow, because Alex went to see it with me, too.
Yeah.
I saw it with my girlfriend.
Oh, well, Brian.
Loser.
Brian didn't see it with me.
What a Riddler. I don't know what my expectations were exactly going into this movie. You know, I had seen teaser images a year ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was, and I was like, oh, this looks cool and, you know, very stylized and stuff, and then saw the trailer for it. It felt like it was everywhere and in my face a lot when it was out, and it's a very aggressively in your face with its style and aesthetics kind of trailer, so I felt just like overwhelmed by it, and it's just like so moody, and it's just like, I am vengeance, and it's just like, okay, calm down, trailer.
Right.
So I was really curious to see what the movie is going to be like, but like I like Robert Pattinson, I think, and the things that I've seen him in. You know, Sing the Lighthouse really helped me appreciate him as an actor. Zoe Kravitz, fan of hers, and seeing her as Catwoman was like, this is gonna be fun. Like, whatever it is, I'm really excited about that. Paul Dano as the Riddler is like cool casting. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, we'll talk about. And so it was, just a really weird experience where there were these moments where I was like, performances are like great, and the story and the situation that's happening in the scene I'm like really into, and it's tense, and I'm like, okay, like really involved in the story and what's happening. And then there were other moments where it was like someone flipped a light switch and I was like, I am so ready to go home. I am really bored with what's happening right now. But it would go back and forth throughout the movie, whereas sometimes I was super into it, sometimes I was like, I could leave right now and be fine. So it was a really weird experience for me. But ultimately, I like enjoyed it. It's very confidently made, and seems to have a very good idea of what it's trying to be, and does seem to do something new that other Batmans haven't done in a thematic way. And I feel like that aspect of it comes in kind of late. But I thought it was a really interesting statement to be making with a Batman movie. So overall, enjoyed it, curious, do want to see it again. Wish it didn't require 3 hours of my time to do so, but that's kind of how I'm feeling. So Brian, as someone that didn't see it with Alex, what are your thoughts on the Batman?
Almost exactly the same. I feel like a very mixed bag. If there's, it's this weird thing where I'm like, I love Batman as a character. I love a lot of the Batman stuff that's out there, but I'm also like, do I need more? Did I need this movie to exist? So I was not excited about it, but in the same way I wasn't excited about Dune or another Matrix, where I'm just like, I'm not excited by it. I just there's nothing in me that was like hoping this thing would exist, and then when it did, I could kind of go in with an open mind because I had no real big expectations about it. But yeah, if there is going to be more Batman, I'm glad we are getting back to a more dark and kind of grounded place. I think Batman is starting to have like the Star Trek rule, where the Star Trek rule was that every other movie was good, like every odd numbered movie was good. Is that what it is, Alex?
No,
I
even
think it's
numbers are
even.
good.
Even
Yeah.
yes, even numbered,
Yeah.
right. So it's like with Batman, we had the cartoony Adam West stuff, and then the dark and gritty Tim Burton movies, and then the cartoony Joel Schumacher movies, and then the dark and gritty Nolan movies. Zack Snyder tried to make something dark and gritty, which made it the most cartoony of all.
Say Martha again.
And now we're getting back to the sort of dark and gritty place. So I like when Batman lives in this place. But and I mean, boy, this movie was just beautiful, and like just the mood and everything about it just felt really good and really, sort of tangible, and I like all of that from just an aesthetic standpoint. But from a story standpoint, I just didn't feel terribly compelled by a lot of it. And I think it's kind of like what you were saying, Michael, or is there are points where I was just like, I'm not really invested in anything that's happening right now. And I think part of that is just it was my first time seeing a pretty dense, long movie. So I genuinely right now have no idea whether that feeling was because I just don't find the plot terribly compelling, or if it was just a lot to take in the first time and I really do need to go back and see it again. But the positive is that I do want to see it again. There are some movies where I'm like, maybe I'll like it if I see it again, but I don't. Who knows when that'll be? This is a movie where I'm like, no, I'll absolutely see it again. Probably not in the theater, but probably as soon as it comes out, for streaming or whatever the home thing is these days. So yeah, looking forward to that. So right now, just sort of a general mixed bag, but I'm glad the movie exists. I'm glad so many people are loving it. And I think that's really cool because I like when, like I said, I like when Batman is in this sort of a space.
Yeah, definitely went for the dark and gritty. Wanted to make sure that you knew about it. And I think we should definitely talk about aesthetics and style and stuff in a little bit. But yeah, so Trisha, I'm curious to hear from you. What were your thoughts?
Yeah. I think I would be obsessed with this movie if the central character were not Batman. Like, if the central character were just like sort of the child of like prominent people in a city that like is sad about the corruption of his town and like has become a vigilante. Like, just everything on paper, if it were all exactly the same, but weren't the character Batman, the Batman. And even if there was like a psychotic, serial killer on the loose, like the Riddler, but wasn't the like I think I came into it with a lot of baggage is what I'm trying to say, where like I wish that I had come into this totally fresh and clean, and like I was just like, I'm here to watch a like noir detective action thriller. And I think that if that were the case, all other things being equal, I would be absolutely utterly obsessed with this movie. As it was, I was really resisting it because I was so exhausted of superhero stuff, but especially like, we're gonna be dark, like that thing. And again, I think the marketing played into that, played into my feeling of just being like, I'm already tired and I haven't even seen it. Like, and then you hear it's 3 hours long and you're just like, I guess I'll drag my ass to the theater. At least Alex will be there. And then you just get there and like, you're just like, all right, I guess this is gonna be a slog. And the truth is, like, there's so much of it that's not a slog. There's so much of it that's like so taut and compelling and fascinating. And I love the noir elements, and like, give me more of the Batman voiceover. Give me more like the crime solving, detecting, like we're putting the pieces together and like we're, questioning people and eliminating suspects, and like we're like picking up clues. Like, I love it. Like, that's all my jam. And all the Catwoman stuff, like if she were just like any femme fatale from any film noir, which she is, right? Like the movie is doing these archetypal things from like noir and classic detective fiction. And if it didn't have like the unbearable weight of the bats on its shoulders, then I think that like that it's like a slam dunk home run. And like if that's like an incentive for you to see this movie rather than a burden, then of course you love it. And I'm coming around to that place. Like all of these things, I was, I basically had to like do some work on myself after I saw this. And I was like, is this the movie's fault that I'm so tired, like, of the Batman? I don't think it is. Like, I think, they made Matt Reeves and like the whole team made the hell out of this movie. And Pattinson, like the performances are so great. Like, I don't think that it's completely flawless. I think there are some bumps. Like you mentioned the themes coming in too late. I think they really do. In the first act, I was like, why am I watching this? But like by the end, where the themes end up, I'm riveted. And like, I actually just like I want to celebrate where the themes end up, because I think where this movie goes is like such a needed thought or like part of the superhero thing. And so I'm like really thankful for it by the end. But it does have some structural bumps. It has some other bumps here and there. I think it has some tone things like, but yeah, I just think that like if you too, listener, were feeling tired before you even sat down, I think you're not alone. And the fact that this movie succeeds, I think, in spite of probably a lot of people's fatigue, is really like to be celebrated. And so like I'm excited to really unpack it with you guys. But yeah, I just think it's like, here we are. It's 2022. Our movies have been delayed twice. We've been like looking forward to them for like 4 years or something, 5 years. And like, I feel like there's just a time and like a cultural massive, like, I don't know, Batmobile sized weight hanging around the neck of this movie. That I think is not necessarily fair to the film if you can look at it like in a vacuum. So
yeah,
I'm excited to try to look at it in a vacuum with all of you.
Yeah, cool. I really want to talk about all that, so let's put a pin in it, and everyone remind me.
Alex.
Alex,
I'll be quick.
But okay, Alex, Mister, I've seen it twice. But yeah. What are your thoughts, especially now that you've seen it twice?
I'm happy I saw it twice, because yes, everything you guys were saying, it's all the things I was feeling. I too, Trisha, was already tired before seeing this movie, especially from the first trailer. The first trailer was the one that went really hard on the I'm vengeance, and just showing the entirety of his Batmobile bursting through flames, and he's walking upside down towards the Penguin car. Like, it just felt so extra, and I was just like, I don't need to watch that for 3 hours. Like, I get it. Like, he's really angry and he's really emo and he's got the eye makeup and you're gonna play Nirvana. Like, okay, like I get it. So yeah, I was going in already kind of skeptical. I did see the other trailer that kind of more heavily featured Zoe Kravitz, and I was like, ooh, that looks like a fun movie. Like, I want to see that movie. So I was like, there's 2 movies here advertised to me. There's one that's a little more lively and fun, one that is just heavy emo darkness. And the movie was both of those things. We have some really delightful scenes that are fun and interesting and dynamic and cool set pieces, and just watching Zoe Kravitz walk through a club is just really fun.
Oh yeah, all day.
a lot of fun stuff like that amidst all the brooding. But there's a hell of a lot of brooding, and in my first watch through, I was, just like you guys were talking about, very resistant. I was thinking, why do we need this movie right now? I don't need this movie right now. Like, I need a movie that it gives me just something. I don't know. Our world has been so dismal and so chaotic and depressed. I was just like, I don't need this right now. Like, this is what I needed back when I was an emo teenager. And I'm sure there's lots of teenagers right now that like are loving this, but I don't want this right now personally. And so I was resisting it. And especially, the things that are noir and that are hard-boiled detective, I wasn't, like you said, Trisha, I wasn't really engaging with the movie on its own terms. I was like, another superhero movie, you better give me a good time. I better like walk out of here with a skip in my step, and you're competing with the Dark Knight, and like all these things that were treating it really unfairly. So that when I heard the like diary voiceover, I wasn't judging it based off of noir, the detective. I was like, ugh, it's Edward Cullen like being whiny, in the Twilight universe, like talking in sad tones. I was judging it on a different rubric than I think the movie deserves. So on the second viewing, I walked in, as you kind of said, Trisha, not thinking of it as another superhero movie, but rather as like a 3-hour epic modern noir. And on those terms, it's a lot more enjoyable. And thinking of it as just, like straight up gritty noir done with with a modern style and happens to take place in Gotham City. It's pretty damn good. And really well done and really well shot, and commits to the extreme grimy, rainy like ugliness of this noir setting. So I did enjoy it more the second time. I do still feel like it is too long. There are some choices that I still bump on, but I would highly recommend everybody watch it again, because I think there's a way to enjoy this movie on its own terms and just appreciate the craft. And there's a lot of great craft at work here. And Greg Fraser, the DP, is just so fantastic. I just really appreciated his work this time around.
I will say probably most people did not have to like work on themselves before they could appreciate this movie. Like, we're of a certain generation, and we are also of a certain like brain, right?
Type of
like,
person. Yeah.
We're all
weirdos.
kind of person.
We're thinking about way too much as we watch a movie.
Like we're maybe not the primary audience for this. Like,
Right.
And so if you're not feeling tired and you're just like, hell yes, more Batman, I also affirm you. Like,
Yes.
Go get it, because honestly, it is so much better than a lot of standard superhero fare. Like, it's a totally different thing and barely a superhero movie in some ways, as we're talking about. And good, like, go get it. Like, if that's it, and you love the fact that it's Batman, the Batmobile is cool as hell. Like, it's a characters you're familiar with, and like, chopping it up, and they're doing great, and like. Yes, it's good. Yes. So if you're not us, you don't have to be tired. You also can like this movie.
Right.
You also can't just like this movie.
We don't feel good that we're tired.
No, we don't like ourselves, to be clear.
And I'll just say really quick that, The Dark Knight, which I was comparing this to in my mind and thinking about like, oh man, like, Paul Dano's trying to do the Joker thing right now. But The Dark Knight also, I don't think I liked in the first viewing either, really.
Sure.
I was kind of confused. I was overwhelmed. I was like, what? I mean, I got that the Joker was amazing and Heath Ledger was amazing and there was amazing sequences, but like, I didn't understand a bunch of dialogue. Things were too choppy and too fast, and what was happening at the end with his like bat sonar vision. Like, what the hell was that? So, I mean, I liked the movie on the first viewing, but I didn't love The Dark Knight until at least a second viewing. And I think sometimes with these big, epic, overly dense, blockbusters, you really do need to give it a second viewing to even like absorb it all.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely all of that. But I also do think that the sort of exhaustion thing does come from the fact that, when you saw The Dark Knight, you had seen the Joker once before and played very, very differently. Obviously more if you had seen, the animated series and stuff like that. But then now, we've had how many Spider-Mans, how many Batmans, like all this kind of thing. So it's like you're watching this movie and you're going, okay, on one hand, you made Batman as a Fincher serial killer movie. Like, this is like if Zodiac and Seven had a baby, and that just feels like, oh yeah, that feels perfect for Batman. And that feels like if you're trying to get that Frank Miller, kind of tone, this movie is very inspired by Long Halloween, like some of those comics, like great. And like you kind of nailed that. But then just like the casual, I think moviegoer is going, the average moviegoer is going like, oh, okay, you've got Catwoman and Penguin, and it takes place in a holiday, so it's basically Batman Returns rebooted. But then here's the Falcone family and this crazy serial killer, doing stuff in this shaky screens, right? So it's kind of Dark Knight, so it's starting to feel a little like these movies are just feeling like rehashes. We've had Gotham on top of, the Zack Snyder movies and the Chris Nolan movies, which, the Nolan movies weren't that terribly long ago.
No.
Right.
So it's starting to feel a little like, even if you're doing the best thing ever, yeah, I think it's kind of like you were saying, Trisha, if this wasn't a Batman movie, how would we feel about it? And the big argument that one of my friends always says is, I think I would love Solo if it wasn't supposed to be Han Solo. If it was just like, here's a movie called The Smuggler and it's a Star Wars movie with this like rogue guy or whatever, but instead it's like, oh no, now it has the weight of Han Solo on it, a character we have seen in other Star Wars movies as recently as 2 years before Solo came out. So I think that is part of the problem, is that we're just starting to feel like you could do the best thing ever, but we've just spent so much time with these characters and we are rehashing them. There's plenty of other characters in the Rogues Gallery that we haven't explored yet in live action Batman. But of course, you need to get butts and seats. So you try to find, Riddler's a great choice of someone who's only been in one movie and in a very different performance than he is here. And then Catwoman is sort of like it's almost like Catwoman is such a mainstay character that you can get away with putting Catwoman in every Batman movie because she is in every Batman movie, like Alfred or Gordon or something like that, But it does, I think the point is that it starts to feel exhausting when we're like, we've done all this, we've got a Joker cameo at the end. The last time we saw Batman and Joker together in a movie was a few months ago when the Snyder Cut came out.
That did not help my first viewing when I was like, that's when the exhaustion really set in. It's like, no.
Well, because I feel like that moment was also, it's exhaustion, but it was also like my brain trying to be like, wait, which one is it? Could it be this one? Like I started panicking. Like, am I supposed to know which one this is? And which universe does this plug into then? It was a whole...
Is there another Joker movie that has this Joker?
Right. Right. We also had a Joker movie that's like separate from Batman, in addition to Jared Leto and Heath Ledger, and now Barry Keoghan, who already looks like the Joker. So good casting, but it just felt like, okay, you're doing this again.
Right. I think this was like probably the biggest thing in my way, or that I was trying to wrestle with while watching it, is kind of to your point, Trisha, right? Like, what if this wasn't a Batman movie? The thing I was thinking about was like, what if I had never seen The Dark Knight before? What if I had never seen a Christopher Nolan Batman, and I had never seen the grounded, dark, gritty Batman thing? This would probably blow my freaking mind. Like, this would be amazing. But instead, I have The Dark Knight, which, especially for its time, was very grounded and like bringing, the gadgets and everything back to a like, no, this is like a Batman that could like conceivably exist in our reality, was like kind of what it was trying to do. And then this movie just like doubles down on that, where it's like, he's just wearing kind of normal boots, and maybe he doesn't even really like to fly that much. He's gonna hesitate before jumping off of this building, and he's gonna crash land, and like his Batmobile is just a normal car, basically. Like, there are all these things that to me was almost feeling like it was not ashamed of being a Batman movie, but like the fear of like trying to hide, like, yeah, we're technically Batman, like she's technically Catwoman, like her beanie like kind of has cat ears if you look a little bit, and like
by accident, like that's not intentional, by accident.
Yeah, and like Colin Farrell's the Penguin because technically there's like he waddles after they tie him up, so it's a penguin. Like, there are these little things that are like, look, it's that character that and the Tim Burton ones were like insane and over the top, like Danny DeVito as the Penguin is an insane, crazy... Right. It just goes so far with it. And this feels like it's like there's a monster and it's trying to get like as close to the wall as possible before it gets touched. I don't know. It's like it's squeezing so hard to get away from like the goofiness that could be there in Batman. The part of my whole thing was like, well, why is this a Batman movie then, if it doesn't feel like it wants to be Batman and lean into the things that I feel like are kind of mainstays of what Batman is?
Because you don't get that budget with a random 3-hour crime noir thriller.
True.